Good morning, everybody. It is August 5th, 2019. My name is Rick Shaver, and I've been wanting to do for quite some time, do some videos. And I've been kind of tossing around ideas for names of what to call them as far as a series and stuff. So first of all, I will say, despise not the days of small beginnings, as my little good old iPhone 6 Plus is sitting on a plastic tub with a vitamin bottle behind it, holding it up. So we're going to start off small, but eventually we get to the point where we're creating some great content for folks, including really great video editing and doing interactive stuff as far as putting up posts and ads that we read, so on and so forth. There's a lot of folks that I watch that I kind of get some inspiration for of what I want to do. But I've been kind of tossing around the idea, and I'd love to hear from you guys about calling it Biblitics. Because I'm very much involved in politics and educating folks as far as what's going on in our world. And so so Biblitics, and the tagline being truth and transparency. And so the transparency part, just being transparent who I am, what I'm about, what my pursuits are, what I'm pursuing in life, what my journey as a Christian has been, and just being real with folks. I know just being born a male, that's not our natural bent as far as being authentic, being transparent, being real. Especially in America, we're almost trained to be superficial and surface, and so I really want to tie in what my belief system is, which is the Bible. And so the reason why we're going with Biblitics is my politics is my Bible. That is motion from a brand new little, looky here. Come here. Oh, I missed it. Gotcha. I found this, and her little sister got hit by a car on Highway 31 up here in Pelham, Alabama. And so I stopped traffic, got out. This is the feisty one. This one actually was not injured. Her sister got her little paw. Looks like it got ran over. But anyway, boom, it's gone. I saw the curtain shaking behind me and knew it was one of those little kittens. And so there won't be a whole lot of video editing on the front end here, so it's going to be real, it's going to be raw, it's going to be live, it's going to be in your face. Well, not live. I am recording this beforehand in case of some horrible, terrific mistake. But I also want to keep with that authenticity and truth and transparency, so there won't be really much of any editing. But we will get to the point where we'll be able to put little ads up. Of course, as things move along, we'll be looking for advertisers and such, and people that help support the program. And so, anyway, so Biblitics with the tagline of the truth and transparency. Tell me what your thoughts are on that. And so, what we're going to be doing is doing our best not to offend everybody, but we are an equal opportunity offender. Someone's going to get offended because we born that way. And so, the goal is really to educate people in what Bible view is on what we're facing in our world today, in the social issues in our culture, American culture, and the subcultures within the American culture, because there's so many different cultures within America. So Christianity, politics, religion, all these different matters, and then of the social issues that we're facing, where we, homosexuality, abortion, overspending, and I totally forgot to turn my phone off. I just got a bleep on here. Talk about truth and transparency. So anyway, just talking about all these types of issues that we face, and so I really gear up my talks, my posts, my social media presence during presidential elections, because I want a godly leader, and soon will be coming. I'm gonna do a video entitled "Trump is a Snake." Be looking out for that. There is a little play on words there, and a little bit of, I don't know, you could call it a little bit what's the word I'm looking for? Metaphoric meanings to that, and so that will be a video I'll be coming up here pretty soon. And so, but just kind of tackling the issues of the day and what's going on in what mainstream media is communicating, and what I would call the real news, which are people that are doing stuff like this and tackling the issues and talking about them. And so mainstream media is on the way out. Well, first of all, journalism is a lost art. It's done for. To find true journalism anymore, it's so difficult to find. But I will say though, I did not too long ago. I watched I believe it was Como Foreign News out of Seattle, which is where we moved from. I'm a Texas boy. I was in the military. I was a military brat. I've lived all the country, but we live here in Alabama now. But we moved here from Seattle, and so I watched a video that said Seattle is dying, and it was a really good like documentary about the city of Seattle, what's happening with the Democratic-run government that has let the city go to pot with homeless people all over the place in the city, setting up tent cities, defecating all over the place. And the reality is they started interviewing these homeless people. And it's not that they're homeless or just out on hard times. Not all of them, most of them anyway. They're drug addicts. And so, the politicians have tied the hands of the police. The police can't do their job. They keep loosening the regulations and laws that the police officers cannot reinforce. So their hands are tied. They can't do their job, what they need to do. And so, and then if they do their job, then of course the court system just let people off, and not even a slap on the wrist. It's just like, okay, well, whatever. You only had a kilo of coke. Joking. That's a little bit exaggeration there. There'll be plenty of that, by the way. Sarcasm. I speak English. Spanish is my second language. Third language, sarcasm. I'm probably a little bit more fluent in sarcasm than I am in Spanish. So anyway. Let me see. I've got a couple notes here I want to talk about. So yeah, I'll be talking about my journey and my Christianity. I got saved at 17, miraculously healed of a disease. I had arthritis in my body. I've got stacks of volumes of medical records. Thank God my mom had joined the Air Force and my stepdad was in the Air Force, and so we didn't have to pay all those medical bills. Thank you, taxpayers, for helping out with that. Of course, then when I got healed, when I went to go to join the military, they wouldn't let me in. Because of my medical records, and so I just said, look, God healed me. And they're like, well, we can't put that down. I said, well, check me out. Here's my body. Give me a physical. Do what you need to do. But I no longer have ankylosing spondylitis and arthritis and osteoarthritis and juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, all these different diagnoses I had. Don't have it, so they had to let me in. So I joined the Air Force. So anyway, so talking about tackling issues of the day, not too long ago I read on Facebook, during my 30-day suspension from Facebook, I had, we live on our farm here in Alabama. We had over 40 pigs, about 300 some odd chickens, 30 turkeys, and 20 guineas, and ducks, and just goats. Had all kind of animals out here, and well, it used to be you could do farm to farm, but Facebook has changed their regulations, and but anyway, hundreds of thousands of animals sold on Facebook through different groups and stuff and everything. But I don't know. I think maybe it had a little bit to do with the fact that I share that a fetus is a human child, and that abortion is wrong, and homosexuality is a sin, and all sexual sin, all sex outside of marriage, I call sin. I don't call it. The Bible calls it sin. So therefore, I call it sin. And so, anyway, rabbit trail. But anyway, so ABC News had put out this post on Facebook, and it said, the mainstream media always wants to cry racist, 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 racist. I already know that I'm going to be labeled a racist, a sexist, a xenophobe, a homophobe, all the different things that people want to stir up angst and create division. So, but anyway, so this article said 34 white men passed the Alabama abortion law, and I was like, and of course, it was painted in a negative and a derogatory perspective. But I was like, okay, so what you're saying is 34 white men voted to save 85% black babies. I'll take it, absolutely. So abortion is wrong, no matter what, no matter who voted it out. I love the new Alabama abortion laws. I pray the rest of the states follow suit and come to realizations. And I love the argument that people say that we're just a clump of cells, the fetus, just a clump of cells. It's like, well, you're just a clump of cells. Now, if you're an atheist and you believe in evolution, then we're all just sporadic chunks or clumps of cells flowing through the universe. And so if you believe that, there's a reason why I would think that it's just a clump of cells and there's no intrinsic value to that child. And so, but if you believe like I do, that God knew us before we were formed in our mother's womb, and that at the moment of conception, where that egg is fertilized by the sperm, you have a specific, individual, dynamic DNA created, therefore a new living human being. And I remember listening a while back, Nancy Pelosi, she was talking about their reproductive rights. You know, this was soon after New York had passed their law that, you know what, hey, even up to 9 months, why not even after the baby's born? We'll decide whether it needs to live or die. And so with their nice little pretty pink ties and pink antennas up on the buildings celebrating the murdering of these children. I lost my track of thought here for a second. I'm trying to remember what I was alluding to with that. Aaron, you want help? What was I talking about? My son's over here watching on, and while I'm thinking about what I said, we're talking about intrinsic value, clump of cells, floating through space. I lost it, but I'll come back to that. Forgive me for that. But being with my son over here, I'm a grandpa. Which is crazy to believe. I tell guys that I actually use olive oil as shaving cream, and I also notice every time I bump the table, I'm a little shaky on the camera there, so I'll hover over the table, sitting here at my dining room table. You know, we want to be having guests on, and I want to be talking to people who have opposing values even. I know that you're not going to find that on CNN or as Dan Bongino calls them, and Sean Hannity calls MSNBC, MSDNC, which is the Democratic National Committee, which is, you know, the realities of mainstream media is just simply a vocal piece for the Democratic Party. And so I'm not here as a vocal piece for the Republican Party. I'm here as a Christian trying to share my worldview and the way I look at things. And so I'm 46 years old, and so my first vote for president was, let's see, I believe the first Bush, and it was the first time I could vote. And you know, I've just happened to always have voted Republican because of what. And sometimes, yes, it was the lesser of two evils. The sadness of what that is, you know, to find a righteous man running for the government. And but that's why I love my Mike Huckabees and Mike Pence, and you know, guys that stand firm in who they are in Christ. You know, and Ted Cruz has really stepped up his game. As far as, you know, I was not happy with. I voted for Ted Cruz in the primaries, and then of course when Trump got the election, I jumped on the Trump train to make sure that no Democrat, no Hillary Clinton was going to be in office. And so, you know, that being said, there's been such a farce. We'll see. Which way should I do that? I know I'm in reverse. At least is the way I'm looking at it. I don't know. Is this going to record out right? Is it going to look? My son's like, I don't know. You can talk, son. It's okay. It's okay. From the alleyway. Go, son.
Hello.
And so my big, gigantic, I am a skinny little scrawny man. My son is this gigantic beast. How much you weigh? He left. 270 plus. He's a big beast. 6'2". He's a monster and grows a beard better than I ever could. So anyway, all right, he's coming in. All right. I'm gonna slide over a little bit here. I'm trying to bump the table too much. Oh, okay, you're coming this way. Oh, I did it anyway. So I'm so cool, man. I'm glad that you're gonna pop in here on this. And so we're gonna try to keep these episodes. I don't know. I don't know whether to go with 30-minute segments or an hour segments. Woo. And so this is my son, Aaron. I think I mentioned I'm Rick Shaver. This is Aaron Shaver.
Hello.
And so it's so people all the time are like, "What? This is your son?" But yes, this is I call him the Bearded Beast. He's got a little bit more of his mommy in him. Let me turn this a little bit, get you a little bit more here. I'll just slide over a little more. Straighten out our American flag here. America. And so, once again, despise not the days of small beginnings. And so, I've been talking to Aaron for a long time. I wanted him to really co-host with me. You know, so we'll see what the future lays with that. And so, who knows? Maybe he might do some of his own. But I always liked to get my son's perspective on things, because I tell folks when I'm talking about my son, my communication is this: if I could be half the man that my son is, it's a good day. My son really exudes, exemplifies to me what a godly man is. I had to come from a very distant from God place, and that's more of you'll hear of my story of getting to the place to where I had to make a lot of changes to be the catalyst to
set me up.
yeah to really to that's a good term to set you up, but to change and not let generational curses and the crap that I grew up with to not translate and transfer, I should say, into him. Yeah. And so Aaron, just share a little about who you are, what you're about.
So I'm Aaron. I am married to Sarah. We have 2 beautiful daughters and another one on the way.
Papa.
Yeah. So we got 3 little girls in our life, and we're super excited about that. So we got Riley, Emmeline, and little Paisley's coming next month.
But I will note, he already said we have 3 children, right? That is a baby inside the belly.
Yep. And so that's what really. So I had friends of mine who voted. So November 8th, 2016, Riley was born.
Trump baby, that's what I call her.
So she's called the Trump baby. And so it hurt my heart when people said congratulations when they voted that I could have ended her life moments before she was born. And so that was hard for me to accept. But yeah, so I have a beautiful family. We love God. God comes first in all of our decisions. And so that's why we started this. That's why I love the phrase Biblitics, because it's Bible politics, and we want to live according to God's word, because that is God's word and what He wants for our life.
Right. And so not tick as in like the little blood-sucking insect. We're not here to suck the life out of you. We want to pour life into you and to educate and to have fun. And, I eventually want to get to where we've got a team doing the video editing. We want to do some fun skits. We're both very creative, and I'll just kind of tell you about it. So one of the skits I want to do is so when New York came out with their new law, I want to dress up in a big old diaper and a baby bottle and come up to a sign that said New York City limits, and then just start booking it with a whole bunch of doctors coming with big old scissors, and I forget the name. There's a doctor who used to do abortions who got saved and doesn't do anymore. His name escapes me, but whatever those tools were, and they have that big old suction catheter, chasing after me because the chances of you making it in New York City now as a baby are so slim. And so, and then, we'll actually do a whole episode on that, talking about Margaret Sanger, how she was eugenist, and why Planned Parenthood offices are always, or I should say kill zones, are always in lower income black communities, is because they were trying to eradicate black people, or at least, essentially not euthanize, but to squelch growth. And so, I mean, it's insane. And so, one of the subject matters we'll be hitting on. And through all of this, I definitely want to communicate. I'll put it like this. When people have opposing views to me, especially if you're atheist, agnostic, trying to figure out if you support abortion and homosexuality, if you are against the Constitution, there's so much hatred and angst that comes our way, that comes my way. This is my reality. I've got young people that actually grew up. I used to be the Bible teacher at my son's school up in Seattle, and very far left views up in Seattle, very left wing. I don't even really like to use the word liberal anymore. Liberal used to have a different meaning. I mean, it has just become so leftist that the liberal, if you're a true libertarian, a true liberal, you should be voting Republican, because they're for free speech and for the Constitution. And the left has gone so far from our Judeo-Christian birth of this country. And we shout taxation without representation, but the realities were they wanted freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom to share the gospel, freedom from the oppression of what had become a church state. And so, people talk about separation of church and state. Well, that's not actually the law. It was a letter written by Thomas Jefferson to keep government out of the church, not God out of the government. And so, one of the many things that we'll be talking about. So, we'll talk about, Trump and the Russia collusion and the Mueller report. I'm a patriot. I'll just say where we go one, we go all. Many of you will know what that is, what I'm talking about there, that we are the news. And so, thus the birthing of this station. So, I really started kind of getting this idea. Well, I've wanted to do it for a long time, even before I even started watching some stuff. But, listening to Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, Mark Levin, Dan Bongino, of course, Hannity. I'll listen to Tucker a little bit. But, Fox News is not like my Bible. There's a lot of disagreements I have with them and their viewpoints, but they more align with my belief system. And so, as I mentioned, I didn't vote for Trump in the primaries. I actually voted for Cruz. And then I was appalled. I was so ticked off at Cruz at the Republican National Convention. Where, he just kind of was like, well, we'll see what happens. I was like, you dog. And what really ticked me off is he's from Texas, my home state. It's like, man, you better represent right. You better get your tail in line and get on board so that we can save this country. And so, anyway, but he really has submitted to Trump's leadership. And, and I know, as I mentioned before about being the news, that there's a lot going on of godly men, righteous men in our government trying to upright this jacked up, corrupt ship of government, of everybody taking buyouts and payouts and selling out our selling out our country, pay for play and Hillary and emails and bleach bit and hammering computers and cell phones. And I mean, it's unbelievable. The Lady Justice is supposed to be blind. We're not supposed to be blind to crime, to treason, to laws being broken. And so people got that mixed up. The Department of Justice turning a blind eye to all the crime was going on, and yet stuff's not even going on with this administration, and they're still trying to prove something that's not even there. I mean, it's insane how much. And it takes me back. There's a local guy here, had a radio show for a long time, and I don't know if he's still doing it. I've been off of mainstream for a long time now, but his name was Michael Hart, and he was talking about, and I don't remember the lingo. I think it was called the Order of the Robes. The Order of the Robes, or basically to have the influence of the robes, and the robes talk about influence and leadership. And so if you think about people that wear robes, who do you think of? Judges, professors, and clergy, priests, pastors. So the strategy was, if we can get the influence of the robes of the Supreme Court, of these judges. So we've got all these liberal judges just dancing all over the law. Then you've got these professors, and I'm actually don't encourage, I am anti-public education. Not for the idea of educating people, because I believe everyone has a right to educate. I'm big on self-education. You feed yourselves. Of course, it started back with the Industrial Revolution when Dad went out of the home, and so Mom was taking care of things. Then when Dad went off to World War I and II, then Mom stepped in, and she's at the job. And so the whole home environment where kids were learning and growing. And I love David Barton was talking about that there was the point of education was to teach religion, relationship with God, morality, and knowledge. So I mean, but God, providence, that was at the head of that list. And so it's become so far from that. So now our public educations, our universities, our colleges, they have the influence now. There are so many anti-God, God-hating, America-hating instructors, professors that esteemed colleges that were used to be Christian colleges. You go through Harvard and Yale, you'll find scripture written into the architecture that now I now call it, it's the indoctrination station. And so I've got young people that I taught in Aaron's Bible College. I think I started to mention that earlier. Who they're up there in Seattle, and a bunch of them. I mean, most of his classmates are potheads. They have fallen by the wayside. They have taken to that region's belief system that are anti-Bible, and so thoughts.
Yeah, education used to be teach you how to think, and now it's teach you what to think.
Very good. That's what Bart was talking about. That was what Bart was talking about. Is that it used to be a collective. So there would be a subject matter, and then they would discuss. He called it catechisms, not to be tied to the Catholic Church, but basically of to catechize. I think it means like to basically to like encapsulate it in your head, to get it in your mind. Jewish boys. I mean, bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs for girls. Girls was 12, boys was 13. That was adulthood. That was when like you're being let loose on the world to make your mark. And so they were studying scriptures. They were knowing how to pray and communicate with God. And I mean would be able to quote monstrosities amounts of scripture through memorization. I mean, just incredible. And so, but yeah, it was very, very well said, Aaron, that it's become now the platform or the format is, I'm the teacher, I have all the knowledge, I'm going to tell you what to think. And that's when true or false questions came in, multiple choice, as opposed to critical thinking, to where, the essay question is now, you'll find, on any major test, you might find one. And so it's just incredible. And so that will also be its own little show episode that we'll do just on education. What are some other subjects you think that we would talk about, tackle? I mean, I mentioned the Second Amendment. That the rights of. I saw a video on Facebook yesterday, and it was a picture of looked like an assault rifle, which any gun used in a crime is an assault rifle. There's assault knives, there's assault bats, there's assault cars, there's assault razor blades, there's assault hands. That's right, like Chuck Norris. I have to register these everywhere I move. Oh, so violent. But anyway, what it was a tripod to a camera turned back with a camera and the lens. The way it laid out, it looked like a dadgum M16. It was awesome. And so the post was what, who needs to own this type of weapon? Of course, my response, I said, someone who wants a great Instagram presence. And so, but anyway, so that's the subject. So I actually never owned a gun until I moved to Alabama. Moved to Alabama. When I first moved here, there was like a lot of things happened in a short amount of time. So I got a truck, I got a dog, I got a gun, and I lost a tooth. I was like, I'm fitting right in here in Alabama. And so anyway, you still have your teeth, yeah. Elliot, I've got a few that are in desperate need of some what do you call them? Root canals. Yeah, not fun. So so Second Amendment, talking about the Constitution, and like I said, just be in truth and transparency. And so I want to just hit a little bit of that transparency moment, and that is that I mentioned before about being a catalyst of change. Actually, I'm gonna